So a lot of people ask me, why do narcissists hate boundaries?
You want to know why people are afraid of asserting boundaries?
You can't set a boundary with a narcissist. It doesn't work.
I struggled with setting boundaries for as long as I can remember. There were so many times I ended up doing things that I didn't want to do simply because I was afraid of coming across as rude or inconsiderate to other people. And I know that I'm not alone in this because for so many people, especially as people pleasers, it's very hard to stand our ground. Because we are so afraid that if we stand our ground, we might come across to people as difficult or rude to them. Recently, I came across some TikTok videos regarding this topic, and they were very eye-opening to me. Hearing other people break down this matter made me realize how often we miss small but very important points that will help us figure out as to why it is so difficult for us to say no to other people. And it also helped me to see how we can make small adjustments to free ourselves from the fear of standing our grounds. If you agree with what I'm talking about, then the advice being shared here on this video will definitely be beneficial to you.
You want to know why people are afraid of asserting boundaries? Imagine you and I are joking around, and you say a joke that offends me. Now, you don't know that you crossed the line. And that's the thing with boundaries. If you don't tell anyone, they're never going to know. They're not going to be able to guess it. They're not you. And you can't expect people to read into your mind and know what your boundaries are. And that's a big thing, especially with people pleasers, is they get walked all over and they start whining and resenting people, yet they never told people that, hey, that was not okay. Now, say you say something that crosses a line and you're still laughing because we were joking prior to that. What happens if now I'm like, hey, that was too far? What's going to happen to the fun vibe? How's it going to make him feel? He didn't know he crossed the boundary. He did. Uncomfortable. And we don't want to ruin the vibe, so we just take it. But realize that at a core, what are you really scared of? That little feeling of awkwardness. What's so bad about that? Why are you so scared of a feeling? Rather rip the Band-Aid off now and now it's set versus tolerating it and let it build up. And that's what people do. They don't say anything, they get walked all over. They don't say anything, they get walked all over. And then years down the road, they explode.
I relate to what this TikToker is saying. Oftentimes we find that we are afraid to create awkwardness amongst other people because we are so much hell-bound on pleasing people. So we would rather them getting away with making us do whatever they want us to do just for the sake of me not making that person feel awkward. As I started to realize that, that's when I started to work on that fear. Even if the person might feel awkward because of I'm telling them that I don't like whatever they're doing and how they do it, and they're going to be feeling some type of way, it's still fine. That's me expressing myself. They're not afraid to ask for whatever they're asking from me without the fear of how I'm going to feel about it.
So a lot of people ask me, why do narcissists hate boundaries? Why do they hate people that are good at setting boundaries? And of course, if you're new here, I'm actually a diagnosed narcissist. So one reason that narcissists hate people that set boundaries is you having control over your own life. You having some type of control over your own finances, your own emotional, physical, mental health. Boundaries are a narcissist's kryptonite because a lot of narcissists want to have total control over you, over everything that you have going on inside of your life. And a boundary could be something as simple as the word no. Saying the word no is a boundary. If you have a problem saying the word no, you gotta take your seatbelt, buckle it up tight because you're going for a bumpy ride for your entire life, not just this relationship. Boundaries are meant to protect you, are meant to keep you safe. Narcissists try to control you. So they try to set boundaries on you. They try to control you. They try to take control of your life.
By setting boundaries, you're actually protecting yourself. People that are overstepping boundaries are people that are very narcissistic. People that are narcissistic like to control. Once you start to realize that by saying no, by putting that boundary on someone that always goes beyond what is normally supposed to be a boundary, and you tell them that this is not what I want you to be doing, they continue to do it. You'll be able to tell that that person is toxic towards me, that person is not good for me. And remember now, people that are very narcissistic, they will always try to turn everything around it to make it seem like you're the problem. All right? So part of you fighting that fear is realizing that you are not the problem simply because of you know your limit, you know your worth.
You can't set a boundary with a narcissist. It doesn't work. Well, they don't need to agree with your boundary in order for you to enforce it. But they aren't going to listen. That's my whole point here. I think we might be getting confused on a boundary versus a request versus a command. A boundary isn't, you can't speak to me like that, or even, please don't speak to me like that. A boundary is, if you speak to me like that, here's what I'm going to do. If you yell or call me names, I'm going to leave the conversation for 30 minutes. It's not about controlling them at all. We don't have control over what they say or do, right? But we can all agree that we should have control over our response and our reactions and how much access of ourselves we decide to give to another person, right? But they're just going to say that I'm punishing them. I mean, it seems kind of rude to just walk away. Isn't it funny how we're so concerned about how our words are going to affect them? We don't want to do anything that's seen as rude or disrespectful, right? And yet they've never once considered how hurtful and disrespectful and punishing their words and actions are to us. Good point. I mean, when we talk about boundaries and communication, it's easy to think, well, that doesn't work with narcissists. Exactly. But it was never supposed to. Narcissists have no interest or capacity for mutual respect or consideration or empathy, right? Right. The question isn't, do those work on a narcissist? That answer is clear. The harder question to answer is, how much of my time, energy, and attention am I going to give to someone who has no desire for safety or emotional closeness or reciprocation in this relationship? I still think the only thing that works on a narcissist is going no contact. You want me to blow your mind? Going no contact is the perfect example of a boundary. They don't have to agree with it for you to enforce it.
I like what this tutorial is bringing across because of we are so stuck hellbound on pleasing people. We fail to want to put ourselves first. We're always concerned about how other people are going to feel if we recognize our worth, if we are able to set the boundary and say, no, this is where you're supposed to end. And I like the point that they're bringing forth that narcissists are people that you cannot reason with. Remember, someone that is narcissistic, in their mind, they're not wrong. So even if you would try to just tell this person, you need to stop, this is where you need to draw the line. And then they don't listen. We tend to go back to our cocoon and feel like, okay, they're not listening to me. So what do I do now? Do I just succumb to whatever that they were trying to force me to do? Or am I going to fight and recognize my worth? The thing that we need to remember is that someone that is narcissistic is someone that is selfish and self-centered. So everything around this world revolves around them. It's only how they feel about situations rather than how we feel about situations. They don't play it safe. So if you feel guilty by putting yourself first, remember and ask yourself, do they feel guilty by putting themselves first? And if the answer is no, then it's time for you to take charge of your world. It's time for you to break that cycle and show them that you too recognize your worth. You too are able to say, no, I'm not going to live according to the way you want me to live, simply because of it's pleasing to you. Regardless of how I feel and how I view life,